So you've heard a lot about a lot of the green activity that's happening in the city, and I don't want to duplicate that. But what I want to do is talk to you about what Go Green is and how you can get involved. And it's fantastic for us because we realise that we've sort of inadvertently been developing this programme for a number of years through a number of the networks and organisations that you've already heard from. So it's fantastic that it's finally come to fruition, and I am blown away by how many people are here today, and that's a fantastic start. So, what is it? Firstly, it's an online tool, which doesn't necessarily sound that exciting, but hopefully when you get to see it later on, you will change your mind. It's a really fantastic facility for enabling businesses to access information, identify what's important to them, and act accordingly. It's a bit like having a sustainability expert in your pocket, I've been saying, but not too often. It's also a citywide way of capturing that information. Andrew just mentioned the Bristol method. One of the important things we want to do is make sure we understand what businesses are doing, what's important to them, what changes they want to make, and then actually, although they may be saying they're doing them, seeing what they actually do. And that's something that we can do from gathering data from the tool. It's also an events programme. We've always found through the various networks that we've run, we running the West of England Carbon Challenge and Nina doing her events, that a fantastic resource for businesses to meet, to network, to share information and best practice. And it's vital to sort of putting some colour to this type of thing. It's also very hard if you're a sustainability person within an organisation. I've done it myself. You can feel very isolated. It's fine if you're in a big team, but for lots of people, the people that are engaging with Go Green will be the only person in their organisation that are really trying to make these changes. So having the chances to talk to other people in other organisations and share that will hopefully be very valuable. We're also doing, within that events programme, we're working with a number of partners. So we've already referenced all of these organisations, and I won't go through that again, but I think what's important to say here is that we are really trying to work with a much wider range of organisations than we have done in the past. So as well as talking to the partnership and talking to the local authorities, we've been talking to the Institute of Directors and the Federation of Small Businesses and Destination Bristol and lots of others who've all got their own insights to bring to this. And it's fantastic that we've had so much enthusiasm and so many people wanting to get involved so far. So our initial events programme, we already have lined up as venues for some of these events. The SS Great Britain, the Zoo, River Cottage Canteen, Airbus and OVO Energy. Lots more will be coming, but we've had such a brilliant response so far that we found that very heartening. And what we want to do is make sure that we broaden that out, as we've mentioned before, as widely as possible. So all the organisations we've worked with so far are great, but what we really want to do is work with you. And I appreciate you won't be able to see this slide in any detail, but that's a list of some of the people who are here today in this room. In fact, that's only as far as H. So I needed a whole other slide to put the rest of you on there, and that's actually a couple of days old. So there's even more. So apologies if you can read that and you can't see your name, but we've got upwards of 250 organisations in the room. We had 400 people registered to attend. That's just a fantastic response, and we're so pleased. And we want to make this as wide and accessible as possible. And we want to be very ambitious. We want to talk to a minimum of 1,000 businesses, although to be fair, on that basis, we're already doing quite well. I think that's about a quarter of our target covered this morning, so thank you. But obviously that's just getting you in the room, and we really, really want to get you engaged and getting you involved, getting you writing your action plans and coming to events. So there's a lot that we want to do. I mean, I was really interested in Steve's figure. 93% of senior executives are now saying that sustainability is an issue that their companies need to be taking seriously. That's fantastic, but how are they going to do it? And that can be quite a challenge, particularly, obviously, easier in larger businesses, but really quite challenging for small businesses. And that's what we hope that Go Green will be able to help with. This photo was taken at the West of England Carbon Challenge Awards back in December. That was sort of the end of the West of England Carbon Challenge, which had been running for about 5 years across the whole of the West of England, most of the companies in Bristol, and it was brilliant. And actually there are a number of the people in that photo are in the room today, which is great to see. But what we want to see is the end of this year, when we have the first Go Green annual awards, a whole load of new faces, a whole load of new organisations and businesses that haven't been involved to date, really showing and sharing what they've achieved and making successes which aren't just about talking about it, but things that make tangible differences to their own companies. So, what's our vision for Go Green? What we've spent the last pretty much year doing is speaking to businesses and understanding what you need and what you want. And also recognising that we talk about businesses as if it's sort of one lump. Actually, it's such a diverse range of people, organisations, small businesses, large businesses, some who are already very, very green, they've done lots and lots of their own business, some who haven't done anything at all. And also, when we use the word business, we don't just mean private for-profit companies. Anyone who hires staff, has premises that they look after, buys resources, and has to manage those processes, to our mind, that qualifies them. They are a business. They may not be in it for the money, but they have those responsibilities and those impacts. And so when we talk about business, we really do mean everybody, charities, third sector, public sector. And we tried to come up with a programme that we hope will bring value to all of those groups, which we appreciate has been quite a challenge. But we hope that by coming up with something that really captures the imagination of all those people, we'll be able to make a really big impact in 2015 and beyond, because we don't just want to do this for 1 year. This isn't a just for Christmas type of situation. This is a change of direction. We're trying to create something which will really help businesses to change their business models and become more efficient in the long term. So the challenge, well, we've already got dozens of organisations and experts in this city region who know an awful lot about this. Lots of organisations, you'll hear from later on this morning, who are already helping to do this type of work for businesses in the charity sector. We didn't want to be taking anything away from what already exists. We want to be building on it. So we had to try and come up with a scheme that would help to bring all of that together. So that was, I think, probably our biggest challenge. We also recognise that, as has been said a couple of times this morning, we don't have to be embarrassed about the fact that we're businesses, and for those of us that are in it for profit, we have an expectation that we will be able to improve our bottom line at the end of the year. So we wanted to make sure that what we were doing was going to help grow our low carbon sector. It's a really prosperous area of our economy, and we wanted to make sure that we were building that at the same time. So our solution, and this was fortuitous for us, was to become an umbrella, to become an organisation that could reach out and connect people under one big umbrella, but to encourage them to do all the different things that they're still doing, they're already doing, and make it easier for new organisations and new initiatives to spring up, because they'd understand where their audience was going to come from. They'd already know that there was a great big group of willing and interested participants out there just waiting for their great new idea to come along. And that was something that we found was really important, and that's the way that we've set up Go Green. It's all about signposting. It's all about building on what we've already got, being greater than the sum of our parts, and maximising on our strengths, not trying to duplicate, not trying to compete with what's already out there, but just make it much, much easier for people to access what they need to get hold of. And this is the format that we're doing it in. So simple, straightforward, say it, do it, prove it. We want all the businesses that get involved, and hopefully all of you here today, to go away afterwards and sign up to become a Go Green participant, to fill in an action plan that will help you to identify the things that can help your business most. That's the simple bit. Once you've identified what you want to do, doing it is the important bit. And what I'll come on to talk about, and you'll hear about more later on, is about how the tool can help you to identify the things that are most helpful to you as a business, whatever type of business you are, and to take on some of those new activities that you haven't yet had a chance to do. And then ultimately, not for everyone, but there's a stage we're calling Prove It. And that's really for our ambassador companies and organisations, people who have really demonstrated that they are thinking about this and making sure that they're changing their business model in the right way. And and there are a number of things that we'll be asking business members to, Prove It members to do. I'm not going to go into that too much detail now because that will be covered later on in the programme. But I think it's important to say at this point that that is really for the ambassador companies. We are going to be asking people to make a financial contribution if they want to get to that stage. That's not by any means compulsory. Really, the meat of this is going to be happening at the do it stage. But as we've said, we've had funding from 2015 to do this for 1 year. We see this as being an important long-term project. We've got other funding avenues we're looking at around sponsorship and commissioning, but this is something that we do recognise is going to be important. So just to give you that up front. We've divided the activity into 5 pillars, and I don't know how easy it is to read from the back, but they are planning and resilience, travel and transport, energy and efficiency, sustainable sourcing, and happy and healthy. Because part of what we wanted to do with Go Green was to emphasise that environmental efficiency was only one part of the picture, and actually being a good employer, being responsible for your employees, and having a whole awareness of how you can forward plan, how you can be resilient, how you can be aware of potential weather catastrophes. Those are all part of the process of becoming a more sustainable business. So it's not to undermine the importance of recycling and energy efficiency, but just to say that that's part of a much bigger picture. This is a screen grab of our new website, which you will see more of later. And on the right-hand side, in that box that you can't read, it says, create your action plan. And this is the bit that we think is going to be really important. And as I said, we will be going through this later on in the programme, but for those of you who can't stay for the second session, we just wanted to give you a very, very quick overview. So the action plan is designed, you enter a lot of different information about your company, about its size and type, so that we can then gear, well, in fact, the tool does the work for us, the magic is already there, gear the responses and the advice that we give you to the size and type of your company. And again, apologies, you won't be able to read this, but those are 2 of the pillars, energy and efficiency and travel and transport. And they identify the key areas of the issues that companies might face. So for example, on travel and transport, and I have to lean down to read it from here, things like visitors travel to our business premises, our employees travel to appointments and meetings, our staff commute to work. They sound very simple and straightforward and obvious, and of course they are, but they're in the most part, universal challenges that our businesses face. How we then deal with them will be very different depending on the type of business we have. So going through the tool, you get to put in all the information, identify the things that are most important to you, and then it creates your action plan with a whole load of guidance. And this is where we think it's important, because the guidance isn't generic. It's not just a standard set of information that could apply anywhere. A lot of it's very specific to Bristol. So again, apologies, you can't read this, but the top bit of information there is about how to initiate a cycle mileage scheme to encourage your staff not to have to bring their cars to work if they're travelling to meetings. There's one in there about the tax incentives around getting better broadband so that you could potentially do more remote conferencing. There's one in there about how you could get access to an electric car or bike, or how you could join a car club. And in that box at the bottom, referring to car clubs, there's lots of references to local schemes that are applicable here. So in theory, we could pick Go Green up and take it to somewhere else. We could take it to Copenhagen or Ljubljana or somewhere else and plug in what's happening in their city. But what we want to do is make something that's really local to us and really helps to support all the local economy businesses. And that's about it from me. What to do now? Well, sign up, please. You've come along. Hopefully the next session will be an inspiration to you as well. Before the break, we're going to introduce some of the organisations that we've spoken about, who are the people who are helping businesses and who have offers for you. And we just wanted to give you a little bit of an insight. So that's our next step. There'll be lots of information, lots of links later on, and obviously we can send you out information afterwards. Before we do that, there's one other bit of light relief from our hosts at Bristol, because what we wanted to do was introduce, Chris Dunford, who many of you will maybe have the pleasure of coming to a tour at Bristol, which is a delight in itself. But at Bristol is a fantastically environmentally responsible building. They've done lots of really interesting things here. So what we want to do is give you a little bit of a case study of one of the places that we will hopefully be having more events across the year, and you can tell us a little bit about what you're up to. So I'm just going to pass this down to the next slide. and introduce you to Chris Dunford, Sustainability Manager at Bristol.